You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee. Welcome to episode 69 of the Sisters in Loss podcast. This is the last episode for the Life After Loss series for October, which is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Today, we're talking about parenting after loss. In August 2014, Tiffany found out she was expecting her second child. Shortly after finding out they were blessed with a little girl, she experienced premature, preterm rupture of the membranes, also known as PPROM, at 22 weeks gestation. After a brief stay in the hospital, Tiffany's body could no longer hold her baby girl. She delivered Chloe before viability, and in this episode, we talk about her journey to her rainbow baby and how she is parenting after loss. Here is Tiffany Cunningham. Thank you, Tiffany, for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'd like to start by you sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Tiffany Cunningham, and I am a wife. I'm a mother to a sunshine son. I have an angel daughter in heaven named Chloe, and I have a rainbow daughter that's running around the house somewhere. And basically, I am a teacher by day, and I'm spending my evenings now working on my nonprofit, Chloe's Treasure. So that's who I am and what I have going on in my life.
Awesome. So take us back on your journey to motherhood and share with us your loss story.
Okay. Well, I became pregnant with my sunshine son. Everything was, fine. Nothing eventful or uneventful. It's just a normal pregnancy. So the decision to finally try for another child wasn't much to think about because the first pregnancy wasn't challenging. There were no difficulties at all. So we knew we wanted to expand our family. So when my son was about 3 years old, we started looking to expand our family. And we became pregnant rather quickly, which was exciting. And we were expecting to have another uneventful pregnancy with pretty much the same outcome as we had with the previous sunshine son, where everything just went smoothly. So I announced to my family that I was pregnant, and everything was exciting. Shortly after that, my sister-in-law announced that she and my brother were expecting their first child. So everything was exciting. Everything was great. We had a celebration for my brother. And the very next day, when I was feeling like I was on top of the world, I was at work, pregnant, and I started to feel like maybe I'm peeing on myself was what I was feeling. So I remember asking one of my coworkers, is it normal to pee on yourself when you're pregnant and not know it? Because I had never experienced anything odd in a pregnancy before. I know that people do strange things in pregnancy, so I just assumed that I was urinating. So eventually it didn't stop. So I finally decided maybe I should call the doctor. And I did. And I think I kind of asked the nurse the same question. They asked how many weeks I was. I was 22 weeks exactly that day. And I explained what was going on. She was like, well, urine is voluntary. It's, you have to purposely, urinate. And if it's something else, then you wouldn't be doing it involuntarily. It wouldn't just keep happening. So I left work, went to my mom, who was a NICU nurse. And I told her then to give me the worst case scenario. I wanted her to be upfront with me because at this point I was clear that this is no longer urine. And she told me the worst case scenario, Chloe, the baby that I was carrying, would not come home because at this point I'm 22 weeks pregnant. That's the worst case scenario. So we make it to the doctor. I'm still leaking fluids, and they confirmed that my water was broken. But at the time, they thought it was a slow leak, is what they called it, and that hopefully it would seal itself and that I would spend some time in the antepartum unit. This is December 12th of 2014. So they're telling me that I would stay there until February in antepartum, and they would keep me on hospital bed rest. And then possibly then they would go for delivery of her because she would have gotten everything that she needed. So when the doctor asked me, did I understand what they were saying? I said, and I don't even know where this came from. I said, you're telling me that this is all in God's hands. Because at that time in my life, I just felt like God works everything out and he's not going to let anything bad happen to me or my child. So it's in his hands. I'm going to go. We're going to stay in this hospital bed rest. And then I'm going to have my baby and we're going to come home. Especially they were giving me all the great statistics on everything that was going on with her. They checked my fluid levels. Everything was still high. The amount of fluid that I was losing wasn't really bad. So everything looked really great. There was no reason to be concerned. But that night after I had family that came to check on me in the hospital, that night when it was just my husband and I felt like I had a large gush of fluid. So I remember having the nurse come to check it out. And she did. And she basically said, you know, it's nothing to worry about. You just keep drinking water. Just keep hydrating. It will replenish itself. The next morning, things just turned for the worse. It is now December 13th, 2014, and things just start changing. I'm feeling cramps. I'm feeling what is now, I understand, was labor with her. So I reported that I was having contractions. I felt like I was having contractions. So they put me on the monitor, but because she was so small, I was 22 weeks, I don't think they could really pick them up well. So they told me I wasn't having any contractions. They sent me just to kind of, you know, they told me I could move positions in the room. You know, if you're not comfortable, you can move from the bed to the sofa. So that's what I did. And then my husband decided he was going to go get me something to eat. So he left, and it's like the moment he left is when I just felt the most unbearable pain, and I knew it wasn't good. My dad just happened to come to check on me as my husband was leaving, and I just looked at him, and I just was like, this isn't good. So they came and they checked me, and at that point, Chloe was crowning. It was time for her to be born, and they were rushing me to delivery. And that a day I will never forget, 12, 13, 14, because I remember looking at the calendar that day and thinking today is going to be a great day. It's 12, 13, 14, and not thinking that it would be the day that my life would change in a way that I never imagined it would. So as I go to the delivery room to deliver her, I just remember thinking, I can never do this again. I can never experience this type of pain. I don't want to do what I have to do now, and I'm never doing this again. So much to the point that I said that out loud before I even delivered Chloe. And my doctor at the time was a wonderful, God-fearing, ordained pastor as well. He grabbed me and he said, don't allow a short-term feeling, which is what I was feeling at that time, to make a long-term decision that would affect your life forever. And that stayed with me forever. So as I'm going through all this pain, I had to deliver her, and I just don't know what to expect. Am I prepared to see her? Am I ready for this? So I deliver her, and they give her to, I think they may have given her to me first, and I just wasn't quite ready. So my husband held her for a little while. My mother encouraged us to take pictures with her, and she lived for about an hour and a half. So I got to hold her, take pictures with her. We prayed with her. Very challenging times. And then that was pretty much it. They were trying to find a room for me to go to. They didn't want to send me to where you go after you have a baby. I can't think of what those rooms are called, because they didn't want me to hear the babies on the floor with their mom. So they were trying to figure out, where do they send me now? So I went back to my same room in antepartum. And I just remember I just wanted to go home. And when I finally left the hospital, I left with an empty box. I left with the care instructions that you would get if you had a regular, normal baby that came home with you, that were just, you know, the things that I didn't need were like crossed out in black marker. It was a really horrible experience. I had flowers that one of my coworkers, who didn't even know what was going on, she just knew that I was in the hospital. So she brought some flowers. I had that. That was the beautiful thing that I had to leave with, and that was it. So I left the hospital feeling very empty, feeling very lost, feeling very hurt, feeling worthless, feeling like my body had failed me. I felt like I had failed my husband as his wife, as a woman. I just felt like I wasn't good enough because my body couldn't do the one thing it was supposed to do. They couldn't hold on to this life that was inside of me. And I felt like I had failed. So when I finally got home, my body then started to produce breast milk. And that just really annoyed me even more because I felt like my body failed to hold life, but now it wants to provide the substance that keeps life. And that was very painful to see this milk coming from my body for a baby that wouldn't be here, that I couldn't take care of. So it was just a lot of pain and hurt. So my mom had never experienced anything like this, but she did work in NICU. So she was used to giving the bad news, but never on the opposite end. And she just told me because every day she would say my eyes just looked like there was no life in them. She said I look lifeless, like I just had no purpose. She was trying to get me to interact with my son. At the time, he's 3. He's excited about Christmas, and I'm trying to be excited about the elf on the shelf and all the things that we had started with him, but I just couldn't get into it. And she was really trying to get me to, want to make cookies and take him to see Santa and just all the things that you do with your 3-year-old. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to make myself up. I wanted to keep wearing maternity clothes, and no one understood that because I felt like my body should still be carrying life. I don't want to hear, oh, you look good, because I felt like I should still look pregnant. So I wanted to still wear the clothes. I was not ready to let go of the fact that life was no longer inside of me. So my mom suggested that I go see a therapist. And that was one of the best things I could have ever done because I was able to seek someone who could talk to me on a professional level. Granted, I know I needed Jesus, but I needed some other help. Granted, I just needed somebody to talk to, somebody that could give me tools and resources to help me to get up out of the bed, somebody that could give me tools to take a shower, give me tools to put on clothes, to interact with my family, to enjoy the holidays, to enjoy just what I have, to at least enjoy the moments that I was able to have. But I needed somebody to help me through that part of my life. So when I went back in, I want to say January for my 6-week appointment, I remember just trying to figure out what went wrong. And at this point, I'm trying to have an attitude of, I want another baby. I had empty arm syndrome. I wanted another baby really, really bad, but I'm also very cautious because I'm terrified of going through this experience all over again, especially when they couldn't really give me any answers as to what went wrong in the first place. So my doctor was looking at the reports, trying to figure out what happened, what went wrong, and they really couldn't give me any answers. So we talked because I wanted to have another baby. So we talked about a plan of care for future pregnancies. And that plan of care was established. And I did some research, and I decided in my mind when I came back for what would have been my annual checkup that I was going to be pregnant. So he told me that there was no reason to not, wait outside of those 3 months. So I was to wait 3 months and then I could try again. There was no reason for us not to try. So that's what we did. We were fortunate enough to have a little snowstorm that came around. We don't get much snow in the South. So we got a snowstorm. We weren't able to leave. And I was pregnant again 3 months later with my now rainbow child. And that pregnancy was probably one of the most scariest pregnancies ever. And I always felt like I had to explain to people that my rainbow child was not a replacement child. She wasn't, making things go away. I would never forget Chloe, but I was very excited to be bringing forth new life. And I was very scared about the process. I was thankful that my doctor placed things to help me with my anxiety. I got a cerclage, I had a weekly nurse, and I got progesterone shots from 16 weeks all the way to 36 weeks, or 36 and 37 weeks. The cerclage moved at 37 weeks. So every week I had someone coming to check on me at my home, check on the baby. I was seeing constantly. I had, not only did I have my OBGYN, I also had a perinatologist checking on me. So I was checked, the fluid levels were checked. So that did help a little bit, but it did not take away the anxiety. I was still very nervous. I didn't want to share with people that I was pregnant. I kept a lot of that to myself. I didn't like to post pictures until I got to certain milestones. And when I got the closer I got to that 22-week period, the more terrified I got. Even planning the baby shower was terrifying. I was nervous. And I remember we were having a meeting, the people that wanted to help me with my baby shower at my house. And I remember I went to the restroom and I felt like it was happening all over again. I felt like my water was breaking all over again. So anytime I went to the restroom, I was always checking and freaking out because I had been there and I wanted to make sure I didn't have that experience again, even though it wasn't up to me. But in my mind, I just wanted to protect my rainbow baby and myself from hearing the words, Mrs. Cunningham, there's nothing we can do. So when I finally was ready for delivery, she actually came shortly after the cerclage was removed. And I was clearly in labor and refused to go to the hospital because I wanted her to make it to 40 weeks. I didn't want to hear, Mrs. Cunningham, there's nothing we can do ever again in life. So here I am, 37 weeks pregnant, clearly in labor, and refusing to go to the hospital, laying on the floor, and I'm just not ready to go. So my husband and my mom are like really concerned and annoyed, and my dad is very calm, and he's like, whatever you want to do. But finally, I go to the doctor, and on November the 7th of 2015, my rainbow baby was born, and she has been just awesome. She's a little firecracker, and we're grateful to have our three children, three very unique children that we have. So we have been very blessed, and I'm just very grateful for the three children that I have. They have given me very different outlooks on the path to motherhood. I understand that there are different roads, and I'm excited that I had a chance to experience some of those different avenues. And I feel like I can connect to people in a way that I couldn't before. So it's been very humbling, to say the least, to go through those three different unique pregnancies. So that's my road to motherhood.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. It brings back so many memories on how we first met. But let's rewind a little bit and just talk about really, you mentioned that you went to therapy after you lost Chloe. So tell us really about how your spiritual journey was. You went to therapy to help, yourself on a mental perspective, but tell us about your spiritual journey. Talk about how God has played a role in your healing, specifically after you lost Chloe.
Okay. Well, I've always known the Lord. I grew up in the church, which is why when they asked me, when they said, do you understand what we're saying? When they told me that my water broke, and my response was, it's in God's hands. Because I just felt like all of this time in my life, everything always worked out for what I could see as my good. It worked out. Like, that was just my attitude. God's going to work it out. He's going to handle it. I'm not worried about it. That's how my faith was. God's going to work it out, and it's going to work out for my good. But on this, it was not at the time feeling like it was for my good. So initially, I went through a period where me and God were not okay. I was not feeling him, because how could he allow this to happen to me when I've been bragging about you, praising you, going to church, serving on some ministries at church, doing the things that I'm supposed to do. And this is how you do me, is how I felt at that time. Like, how dare you? What kind of God would do this to somebody? Like, why would you do this to me? I did what you asked of me, and then this is what you did to me. So we weren't cool for a little while. I thank God I had a praying mother, because I was not cool with God, which is probably why she says that I looked like I didn't have any life in my eyes, because at that moment I did not have the faith that I used to have, because I felt like God said he would not put any more on me than I could bear. And I felt like he had lied to me. I felt like, you lied. You said you wouldn't put any more on me than I could bear. And that was not the truth. So eventually, as I started, because I stayed with me and my husband and my son, we stayed with my parents for quite some time. Then one day I finally said, I have to go home. I have to reestablish my life. I have to find my new normal. So we came home, And part of that new normal included going back to church. And my pastor was preaching a sermon, a series, if you will, called Finding Comfort in an Uncomfortable Situation. And I felt like he was talking to me because at that time, my sister-in-law is pregnant and she was only a few weeks behind me. So her son, my nephew, was actually born 2 days after Chloe's due date at the same hospital that I had delivered Chloe in and had to say goodbye. So a lot of other things are happening too, because this is my brother's first child. My brother, my sister-in-law, my husband, my family, we are very close, super close. Like we get together all the time. There was no, it's not like she lived out of state where I wasn't going to see her. I saw her all the time. I couldn't avoid this. As a matter of fact, we went to church together. Like I'm sitting here, we're sitting next to each other. So you see her belly growing and my belly is not. And that was very challenging. So I was trying to find comfort in a very uncomfortable situation. So I just had to just find God. And God talks to me in some very interesting ways. And I remember when I came home from being with my mom, there was a woman that was talking, I think, on the 700 Club. I don't even watch the 700 Club. I don't even know how the TV was on that channel. That was God. But she was talking about having had multiple miscarriages and how each time she still praised God. And I couldn't understand. I thought she was crazy because I had just had this one thing happen to me. I could not imagine going through this several times and still trying to find a way to praise God. At that time, I just couldn't understand. But she kept saying, though you slay me, I will worship. So I said, okay, I'm going to try it out at this point. I'm going to church. God has been good. I'm going to try it out. And I can't avoid these things that are going on. But as I'm still going through the motion of life, this baby that my sister-in-law is carrying is going to come. So it's time for my nephew's baby shower. And I remember at that point, the anxiety was at an all-time high for me. I did not want to go to his baby shower. It was just way too much. I remember trying to explain to my mom. I didn't think I could go. He's my only brother, but I just can't do this. We're a very close family, but this is something I just cannot do. So my mom had me come over. The baby shower was at their house. She had me come over the night before so I could see how the shower was going to be set up. So I could see, I had never seen the baby's room. They were having events where they would come and paint his room. I wasn't there for any of it. I just could not be there. So I remember I went into his room. I went to buy his gifts all by myself. I was so proud. I went to Babies R Us all by myself, picked out his gift, put it in a cute little bag all by myself. I'm feeling very strong. I go into their house and they've got it decorated for the baby shower and I'm done. I can't do this. I literally sat in my nephew's glider that was in his bedroom and I threw up my hands and cried and said, Lord, this is too much. I can't do this. This is way too much. I told you this was too much. You know, here we are again. You said you wouldn't put more on me than I could bear, and you did it again. This is too much. So when I finally attended my nephew's baby shower the next day, I finally got it together, put on some clothes, made myself look cute, you know, because I feel like when you look good, you feel good. So I made myself look extra cute, went to the baby shower, and I kept hearing how I looked like I was glowing, how I looked nice, and this, that, and the third. And my sister-in-law's grandmother, I call her my grandmother as well, she just kept going, you just glowing, baby. Baby, you're just glowing. So the next day, they had a guy baby shower, dude's diaper shower or whatever. I don't know what they called it. But my husband went to it. My son was gone. I decided to take a pregnancy test. And that's when I confirmed that I was pregnant. And I was like, God, I guess you're not a liar. You will not put more on me than I could bear. Because right when I thought it was too much, you turned it around. Right when I thought I couldn't do it, you turned it around. Because I could not imagine going back to that same hospital where I had delivered a baby that did not make it to go and see my nephew without having life inside of me. I don't know how I would have made it. So God definitely tested me through that season. And he really proved to me, and I have to remind myself of that even in times when I feel like I'm going through now, that he will never put more on me than I can bear. And I have my rainbow baby as a walking, breathing, living witness of that he will never put more on me than I can bear. Because at that time, my faith was done. And And it was a lot of times I was really throwing in the towel. And when he turned that thing around, everything for me just changed. My outlook turned back stronger than it ever was before. My faith became stronger than ever before because I really now saw he really will test you when you feel like you're at the brink of giving up. And right when you think you're going to give up, don't. Just push a little harder. He will be there. He really and truly will not put more on you than you can bear. He will give you the desires of your heart.
Amen. Yes. So let's transition and talk about Chloe's treasure. So Tiffany slid in my DMs, y'all. I don't know what I had posted, but you had slid in my DMs and was like, Erica, did you mind mentoring me and helping me start a nonprofit? And I love what you're doing. And I was like, of course. So, and that was, when was this, Tiffany? This had to be.
It was October of last year. I actually had to go back and look at the date. It was October.
Yeah, because I was probably posting a whole lot during October, which is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And I was like, of course. So we set up phone calls and we got to work, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Erica, I have to say, I don't know where that came from. Like, I'm not a slide in somebody's DMs and talk to them. I don't even know anything about you. Didn't even know where you lived. And here I am just telling you my whole life, my dreams, my hopes, and just laying it all out there. And I was so nervous. I was like, what if she says no? And you responded so quickly. I even screenshot your response because it was like the moment my life has changed.
So Tiffany was like my first coaching client. Like when you reached out to me, I was like, okay, if Tiffany wants this done, maybe some other people will be interested in getting coaching to start a nonprofit. So me and Tiffany walked through it. I guess we went through Christmas and Thanksgiving, and then let's really talk about how the formation of Chloe's Treasure. You had a completely different name beforehand. Take us back on that journey from sliding into DMs to actually going out, forming your nonprofit in the state, in your local state, and then going and applying for your 501c3. Take us through that whole journey for those who are listening, who are interested in starting a nonprofit in honor of their child, for them to know just the journey it takes to get there.
Well, I always admired when I was going through everything. I just admired the moms who had the strength to talk about what they were going through, and I was not one of them. I admired those who could talk about their pregnancies and like, this is my rainbow pregnancy, and like share it with the world from the day. I was not one of them. I never imagined that I would be here. I never imagined that I would be talking about my loss this openly. I just never, in my wildest dreams, imagined that this would be happening. So over time, I think I just got inspired by other moms. So I knew I wanted to create something. And then the other moms, by the way, let me be clear, other moms who did not look like me. I did not see many women that looked like me, many African-American women, many women of color sharing their experiences. So that's when I started getting a little like concerned, because I knew I had friends who had miscarriages. And then as soon as I had gone through my experience with Chloe, which my loss was because of, what does the acronym stand for PPROM? I can't remember what the acronym stands for right now, but preterm, pre-something rupture of the membrane. So basically it just means my water broke too early. And the more I talked, my sister-in-law was sharing this happened to one of her friends. It just seemed like it was happening to people that looked like me in my neighborhood, people that I knew personally, or, they're this person's line sister or my line sister, my cousin, people that looked like me, but we weren't talking about it. So all these women were sharing, but none of them looked like us. So when I saw Erica promoting, at the time, I don't even think it was Sisters in Loss. I think it was just Erica McAfee. I think it was just your brand at that time. And you were promoting your podcast. And I was listening to them and I was inspired by them. And then there was an event happening here. There was an Angel Moms brunch by Jamila. Yes, Jamila was having a brunch. And that was my first time being around women that looked like me that had gone through and talking openly about what they had gone through. So but that's going too far. So going back a little bit, but like I said, there weren't many women that looked like me that were talking about their experiences. So I started playing around and I was like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because of Chloe. So it was initially called Because of Chloe. And I was trying to do a blog. I think that's what I was initially trying to do, was a blog. I was initially just trying, but I felt like I needed to do more than just talk about my experience. I mean, that's all well and good, but I wanted to also make a difference. I also wanted to have an impact, and I wanted to actually reach people. I wanted to reach women and help women, especially because I live in a very large city. I left the hospital with an empty box, and I live in a city where that just shouldn't happen. So I really just wanted to really help women. So I didn't, at the time, I think when I reached out to Eric, I didn't really know what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it. I just knew I wanted to do something. So initially it was called Because of Chloe. It might have been called something else after that. And in October of last year, after I had talked to Eric and we're going back and forth with things, I was actually dealing with a whole separate issue with my breast. I had to actually have emergency surgery on my breast. There's just a lot of things going on at the time. And I was sharing with my mom, you know, what I was going through with trying to come up with something for Chloe. And I was telling her I wanted to do boxes. I wanted just sharing different things I wanted to do. And my mom actually came up with the name Chloe's Treasure. And I felt like that was so appropriate because it was something that you could treasure for your child, something that you could look in and just remember your baby, which is something that I did not get when I left the hospital. And even leaving the hospital, I wasn't provided with resources. There was no, you know, contact your local this for that support, or, you know, we offer this support here. None of that. So I knew I wanted to make a difference, and I felt like blogging was fun, but it wasn't really hitting what I personally wanted to do. So reaching out to Erica just felt like the best thing to do. So I could, because she seemed like she was reaching people. She was getting people to come on and talk and share their experiences. And by sharing our experiences, by talking about our experiences, we overcome. We overcome by our testimony. You're talking about what you've been through. You heal, and you also allow other people to heal, because hearing some of the stories of the ladies like Jamila and hearing Betty. Yeah, hearing Betty's story. And there's so many other people. I don't want to say their names wrong right now, but just hearing their stories inspired me. And I was like, I really want to do something so that I can help women. And there's so many women, like I said, that look like me that don't get the support that they need and also don't talk about it. So reaching out to Erica, I knew I wanted to do a nonprofit, and it was like every week she would give me a different task. Like, you need to have, you know, this done by the next time we talk. You need to have this created, and you need to look into getting these things together. So every week we would, but not even weekly, but every so often we would have a time in which we would talk, and she would give me a task to complete, and she would give me resources. She walked me through how to use different graphics, which I might need to touch up on that. So I might have to log on to one of her courses. But she would walk me through how to do the things that I needed to do, from the foundation to filling out not the foundation, but the foundation of the organization, getting my articles of incorporation, how to fill those out, what they need to say, so that it can also transfer to the IRS so that I can get that documentation done for the 5013C paperwork, just everything that I needed to have a nonprofit organization, from the beginning of what I needed, things that I probably would have never thought about. She was very helpful with helping me to get from, it was an idea in my head, to now file paperwork, and we are able to now go about making a difference in the lives of women.
Awesome. So tell us about your upcoming event that you have during October for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month.
Okay, so our event is called Cupcakes and Conversation. And like I said, a lot of women, especially African-American women, do not talk about their experiences. So I wanted us to have a place where we could come and we could talk about different issues that we're dealing with. So you realize it's not just you, you're not alone. And it's not just you, you're not alone, but it's also your neighbor, your line sister, your soror, your cousin, your best friend. It's someone that you know. You're not alone in this. And we're here to help each other. We're here to support each other. And we also want to bring awareness to October the 15th, which is the Wave of Light Day for infant and pregnancy loss awareness. So we also want to provide the ladies with a gift of a candle so that they can be prepared if it's their first time. A lot of the ladies that I personally know didn't even know that it was a thing, that it was a day, so they can be prepared to light their own candle in memory of their child to start a new tradition for themselves and hopefully begin their healing if they have not done that already. So it gives them a chance to come in, talk, enjoy some tasty cupcakes and pastries, and just feel free, and then learn about some of our other upcoming events that we have and find out more about how to contact us, and just know that we are here for them. And, you know, we are a source if they need it.
Awesome. So you all, I'll make sure I post it in the comments below, and as well as all of the information for Chloe Cheddar, so you all can follow them on social and see what other events that they put on in the coming months, and of course next year in 2019. So parenting after loss. I know it's a question that I have been asking all of my recent guests on, especially for parents who have had children prior to their losses and then have had their rainbow baby, which you fit the bill for. So tell us about how you have parented differently before you lost Chloe, and then now since having your rainbow baby.
Okay, so before having Chloe, parenting my son, I was probably definitely a lot more of a laid back mom, a lot more relaxed mom, a lot more, you know, just making sure we are where we need to be, and you have your clothes, are they clean? Mom, when we get to the event, hey, where is he? Okay, he's right there. Okay, fine. Is he having fun? Is that him crying? Oh, he's fine. So probably a lot less, I guess, worried about him now that I have had Chloe. It makes me a little more, I want to say a helicopter parent, because I'm not quite there, but I am more like checking on them when I put them to sleep, go back in the room, make sure they're okay. And they're 7 and 2. My rainbow's almost 3. I'm checking on them. You know, are they okay? Just a lot more cautious of them. Can you go? No, you can't go here. Just a lot more cautious, a lot more guarded. But I also take the time to probably enjoy them a little differently, because I also understand that life is so precious, because I've seen life come, literally. I've given life, and within a matter of an hour and a half, I saw that same life leave. So probably really, I do a lot with them. I don't remember, I don't feel like I did as much before, but like every weekend, my kids know we're going somewhere, we're doing something, and it might be, you know, even in the course of a Saturday, we might do 2 or 3 events. We're always doing something. So just taking the time to really enjoy them, because I understand that this gift that I've been given is so precious, and they will only be this small for so long, and just really taking the time to enjoy them. They're awesome. They're wonderful. And I'm probably complain a little less about the things that my son may have done when he was 2 or 3. And now with my daughter, who is around that same age, it's like not as big of a deal, because I'm just glad to see a child do those same things. So I probably don't get as upset about a tantrum as I probably did with my son, because, you know, it's like, well, Chloe will never get to have a tantrum. So I'm probably not as like, you know, about it, and just really enjoying those moments, because I have a child who does not get to have those first experiences. She did not get to have her first birthday. She did not get to go on her first beach trip. She did not get to ride an airplane. She did not get to have her first day of school. She did not get to go to daycare for the first time. Just all of those things that I may not have truly appreciated as much with my son. With my rainbow child, and even now with my son going forward, I truly appreciate them. So first day of school pictures, Everything is probably photographed. I probably take way more pictures with my phone than I ever would have before. Everything is a picture or video, the smallest of things, because I want to remember these moments, and I'm grateful for these moments.
Awesome. So what tools or resources did you use to help you on your healing journey?
Well, one of the biggest tools that I use outside of therapy, there was a book that was called I Will Carry You. And that was actually recommended from my therapist. And I read that book as I was just trying to figure out why, how, why me kind of things. And then I had to realize it's not about that. And even in my pregnancy with my rainbow, I read a daily affirmations book that took me from the moment I found out I was pregnant all the way until the day that I gave birth to her. And I also, of course, church, can't forget church, Jesus, the Bible, all of that was very important to me. I also had a printout that I saw through one of those pages I used to follow, and I don't even remember who it was, so I can't even give them credit, but it was a printout. I saw it and I printed it, and it said, I will get pregnant, I will carry to term, I will have a baby, I will bring my baby home, I will be happy. And I printed it out, I put it on my mirror, and I read it from the day that I printed it, and I kept it there all the way until I finally brought my rainbow home. And then my brother also gave me a bracelet that says, I can, I will, I must. I wore that from the day he gave it to me until the day I gave birth to my rainbow. And then I felt like it was time to give it to someone else so that they could, remember that. They can, they will, they must. And that's how I felt. I can do this. I will do this. I must do this. So those all got me through.
Awesome. I love that. So last question I have for you is, what inspiring or encouraging words can you leave with the mom out there who may be suffering from infertility or is just looking to continue to try again on that journey?
Well, if you're looking to try again or you're dealing with infertility, the best advice I can give to you is the same advice that my doctor gave to me. Sadly, my doctor is no longer here, but that man gave me the best advice that at the moment when I wanted to give up, he literally grabbed me and said, don't allow a short-term feeling to affect a long-term decision. So meaning when we are wanting to have something, it may not look like it's ever going to happen, or you might be scared, or your fears might hold you back. You have to just press on and trust and go on anyhow and not allow those feelings to keep you from having what it is that you want. You can't allow anything to stop you. You can't allow anything to hold you back, no matter what it looks like. And just remember, like I have to remember, God will never put more on you than you can bear. You were given this journey because it is yours. There will be a testimony that you will give to somebody on the other side of this. There is victory on the other side of this. And just keep pressing, just keep going, just keep trusting, just keep believing.
Amen. So where can we find you on social, Tiffany?
You can find me at Simply Tiffany Cunningham on Instagram. You can find me at Chloe's Treasure, also on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find me on my website. And you can also, if you ever want to email me, you can email me at chloetreasuresinc@gmail.com.
Yes. So I will make sure I link her website and all her social media in the show notes in the description box for you all. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for being on the podcast and sharing your story with us. I was so excited when we finally connected to share the story, because I was like, Tiffany, you got to get on this podcast.
Girl, and once again, guys, don't let fear hold you back, because, sometimes we allow fear to hold us back. You cannot let fear hold you back. You got to just go for it. So I remember when I was talking to Erica during one of our coaching sessions, you said you were going to do the things that scared you. And I think that's where I am. So I'm just going for it. Anything that I see, I'm going for it. I mean, hey, what's holding me back? Don't allow fear to hold you back. Anything that I see, I'm pressing yes. I'm going for it. Let's go.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Tiffany.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I pray that this show was inspirational and a blessing to you. For show notes, visit ericamcafee.com/podcast. Please join us in our offline discussions in our private Facebook group by going to sistersinloss.com. If you're listening in Apple Podcasts, please rate and subscribe to us and leave us a 5-star review. I pray that you all have a blessed week. Keep the faith, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday.